Hey there, welcome back to Move with Joe. Today we're going to be talking about neck pain. So let's just do a couple assessments to begin. So I'll first have you just rotate to look to the right. And then I'll have you rotate to look to the left. And then I'll have you begin to take your eyes to look down onto the floor. And then begin to look up towards the ceiling. And so I'll have you do that one more time. So turn to the right and just notice how much of yourself is involved with that rotation. So how much of your neck can you feel beginning to rotate? How much of potentially the shoulders are involved, or the thoracic rib cage where the 12 ribs are? Maybe you even feel some movement down into your lumbar. And then go ahead and turn to the left. And again, notice how much of yourself is involved with that movement. And go ahead and tuck your chin and look down to the floor. See how much of your spine is involved in that movement. And then begin to look up towards the ceiling. So one of the main things that we're going to be talking about today, one of the key concepts that comes from the Feldenkrais method, is distributing the tone through the whole of this system and distributing muscular effort through the whole of your system. So oftentimes people get into problems with their neck because they move only from their neck. So there are 7 vertebrae in the cervical spine. Pretty much the C1 begins at the equivalent to about the upper palate in your mouth. And C7 comes down to pretty much where the base of the neck is, where it attaches into the torso. So if I rotate and I only rotate from my neck versus having some rotation coming through more of the whole of myself, that might start to create some problems with my neck. Or if I'm just extending my neck from a hinge point here, that could start to create some problems. Or if I'm just flexing my neck forward texting. So text messaging is a big problem for a lot of people because they tend to hold their hands and their phone down pretty low, like 6. So you have a pretty significant degree bend. I think in studies they said it's an average of 60 degrees when people are texting with their hands in their laps. So that's a tremendous amount of force down in the cervical spine here. So in order to start distributing and involving more of the body, I have a couple movement sequences that I'll have you begin to do with me. So the first one is go ahead and give yourself a little bear hug. Everybody needs a hug from time to time. And so your elbows are going to be pointing straight out in front of you. And so what I'll have you begin to do is begin to take the elbows up towards the ceiling and then down towards the floor. And so again, you could just do this from the shoulders, but I want you to begin to involve the whole of your spine. So as you begin to bring the elbows down, you begin to round the spine, and as you begin to bring the elbows up to the ceiling, you begin to extend. So I'll show you from a side view. So rounding the spine, you can tuck the tail under, and then extending the elbows up towards the ceiling. And so we'll just do this a number of times. And so you can see we're starting to get movement all the way down into the pelvis. You may even be able to begin to notice your sit bones starting to rock back and forth on your seat. Good. So take a little break, let the arms shake out. Give yourself a moment. So in between these rests, we'll shorten them down just for the video, but you can rest anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute, and that just allows your nervous system to start to integrate some of the movements that we've just been doing. So again, give yourself a bear hug. And this time we can begin to rotate to the right and to the left. And again, we're rotating through the whole spine. Now, I'm on a stool that swivels, and ideally, if you have a hard surface that does not swivel, that would be preferable. So I'm starting to actually get a little counter rotation. Okay, so there's movement number 2. Next one, we'll begin to do circles. So imagine you're elbows had little paint brushes on the end. So we'll begin to draw a circle with the tips of our elbow. And so again, see how much of your spine, your neck, your shoulders, how much can you involve yourself with this movement? Can you feel a distribution of weight going from foot to foot as you move through your circle? And then you can reverse that movement. Good. Give that a break. Again, you could rest for anywhere from 30 seconds to a minute. And as you're resting here, just notice if there's any change in the tone, in the distribution of where you're feeling sensations in your body. I know for myself, there's a lot more activation in some of the posterior shoulder muscles from getting moved and stretched in different ways. And so that's one of the challenges when we're sitting at our desks all day, is that we tend to focus in on a singular object like our computer screen, and everything just gets fixed. And so the amount of movement that we're doing is super limited, right? And if anything, we tend to either, particularly now that a lot of people are working from home and they're on a laptop, they're looking down so their head is flexed forward. And so now all these muscles are engaged holding yourself upright. And so the more we can find that organization on our sit bones and sit more upright and have our computer screen on the horizon, that's really going to help with the neck pain. But ideally, what we need is more movement throughout our day. So integrating some of these movement routines throughout your day, when you have a couple minute break between meetings, or even if you're on a conference call, you can turn off the video for a moment and start to begin to do some of these movements. So another one that I'll have you do is go ahead and interlace your hands and place them on top of your head. And so now we'll just begin to go side to side here. And again, it's not just from the neck, but we're trying to move all the way through the whole of the spine. So you should be feeling a nice long stretch through the side here. And again, you can rotate back and forth. And you can flex forward, extend back, flex forward, extend back. All right, give that a break. And as you sit here, just notice, is there any more sense of being more skeletally supported? So as you're sitting, do you have a sense of being maybe a little bit more stacked through the whole of yourself? Maybe from where you began, if you were a little bit more rounded here, now you have some more equal distribution between the extensor muscles in the back and the flexor muscles in the front. So that's ultimately what we're trying to do, is create more distribution of the tone through the whole of our body, start moving through the whole of our body versus creating these isolated movements of just looking down from the neck, but really rounding through the whole of the body, extending through the whole of the body. So I hope you enjoyed today's tips. Please hit the like and subscribe button. Leave a comment, tell me what you liked, if there are any questions that came up during the little movement activity, and we'll see you next time.